Hi peeps, welcome back. I'm Zen and welcome to Figma Into the Wild video 5. And this is a video that we perhaps could have done one or two episodes before. It is creating the Greybox designs. Now, this is really only useful for people who are perhaps looking at using absolute positioning, although it can still be used as a sort of starting point while we're doing grid references and stuff as well. But the idea is that we're going to change a page that looks like this into this, where we can see all of the X and Y width and height values to make it easier to create it in our actual page. So, as usual, without further ado, let's get into it. Right, so here we are with Figma loaded with my seats user, and obviously we're going to do Into the Wild, which is in the level 3 project, and we're just going to click into that. And we're going to start off with the base page. And again, the reason why we want to do the base page is that all of our other pages are based on it, and getting this right now means that when we create pages based on it, we can transfer the Greybox designs on it as well. So what is Greybox Designs? Why do we need it? Well, as you saw earlier, Greybox Designs is essentially denoting the areas of things. So navigation, pictures, where the text is. We give it a brief explanation of what it is, so such as navigation, footer, and we give the X, Y, and width and height values. The reason why we do this is that if we're doing absolute positioning, we can use these values directly into our style sheet, saving us absolute tons of time. Even if we are not doing absolute positioning, it can still sometimes be useful. We may not need the X and Y positions, but we might want the width and height values to try and make sure that we've got it roughly the way that we originally designed it. So how do we do it? Well, I say this is really simple. We're into our base page. I've actually already done it on this page, and I'm going to try and do this as quick as I can for you because it is very boring, but I want to show you the techniques. So what I'm going to do is go into top nav, and if you remember, we actually have this rectangle that goes around everything. That's the background. And so all I'm going to do here, Control C and then Control V, so copy and paste. That will give me a copy of the rectangle, as we can see here. And then an important thing to do is make sure it is above, the original navigation bar. Then all we need to do is go over into the fill and change it to black. Just because it's called Greybox Design doesn't mean all the boxes have to be grey. The color does not matter. The only important thing is making sure that you've got the covering and you've got the right information. Then all we need to do, and this is a bit I strongly recommend, is to lock whatever it is that you're doing the Greybox on. So in this case, it's my top navigation. So I've locked that. And the reason for that is that what we don't want to do is when we add our text field, that we accidentally try to overwrite the existing text field. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If I just click off here, that text field's disappeared. But now if I unlock the top nav, when I click into here, you can see here, it's gone directly into that existing one. And we can see that by, if I just hide that. Where's it gone? There you go, you can see I'm in the About Us section. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want to mess about with this stuff. I want to keep this safe, okay? So let's bring this rectangle back up. Text tool, click and drag in. Now the next mistake people do is that after they made their text field and make sure it's a color they can see. Okay, so here we're typing something like top nav, and then you want to do X, Y, width and height, and then you need to fill them in. And say the error that people make is that they look over here and they use these values, but these are the wrong values. these are the values of the text field. So we always need to click off, reselect the target, then look at the values. Okay, now a lot of my students will actually take a photo with their phone, so they've got it there and they can reference their phone when they're clicking it on. Some people have really good memory. I'm not one of them. Okay, you could just use a pencil and a pad, piece of paper, and write the values down. It's entirely up to you how you do it. Okay, but essentially we want to put in here X75, Y25, W1350, and H for height for 90. And then when we finish with that, we should get something that looks like, let me just get rid of it. That looks like that. Okay, and that's all it is. And then we repeat the bottom for the footer. And again, already done for you. Well, for me, you're still going to have to do this for your own one. Notice on the footer that there's no Y value given. And the reason for that is, if you remember, the height of the web page will change all the time. Each page you make, it'll be a different length, and therefore the footer's Y position will also be different. And therefore I left a Y off there, or the Y value off, so that when we create the other pages we can just click in and add to it. It actually helps to remind us to add that value. Now, because we've already created 2 other pages, I say this is very long and very boring. I'm not going to do this on every single one. I'm just going to do this on the index one because it's rather large. What we can do is we can just highlight these 2. Notice I've grouped them, okay, and I've given them names, so top nav grey, top footer grey, and then we can do the Control C, and then we can go into our index page, okay, and then we can Control V it into there. Now I've actually already done them, so there's my footer, but like I say, for completion I'll just do Control V so you can see they do come in, but I shall just get rid of them for now and reopen them up here, and top nav grey, which should be at the top there. Do try to get them in the right places. Okay, so you can see them there, and you can see that in this particular one I've added the height value as well, the Y value, not the height value, the Y value. Okay, now some tricks of doing this quick and some things that you need to be aware of. So for example, this top one, I didn't bother doing the add circles. You could have done, but I felt it was overkill. I have, if I'm being honest, repositioned this text slightly so it now fits within the 2 column. Okay, and so when we look at this, let's just bring this one in. Where's it gone? Top hat, that should be there. Okay, so you notice we've got a white box to represent the main picture. Okay, I haven't put the information regarding the image in there because that's slightly different and that would change anyway. And then the position of the image text as well. Okay, so when you're creating for the first time and you haven't actually got your library of adverts that are going to be rotating, you do a placeholder and this tells you where they should be. Okay, so we use different colors to make sure that they are all visible. Okay, nice and simple. And the same thing goes along with these here. So again, add grey one, that's where the advert is. Okay, and obviously the text there. To do the second one, all I did was to, and again, notice how I am grouping them and naming them. So once I created the first add one grey, I copied and pasted it and then dragged it down. Okay, and the reason for that is that most of the values are the same. The dimensions of this advert are identical. Okay, the advert text background is identical. Okay, you know, the width and the height is exactly the same. Even the X is the same for the text. It's just the Y value which is different. For the image, the width and height are obviously the same, but the X and Y are different. But again, you know, it's not too hard to do. And again, let's just copy and paste, drag it down, and then just rearrange them. Same thing goes, in fact, even more so for these down here, because when we look at it, the X and Y, sorry, the width and height of these three here will be identical, okay, because it's the same tile. We actually copied and pasted them to create them. Same thing for this sort of bannery bit. The width and the height are identical, and also the Y position for the tile for all three is the same, and the Y position for the banner section is the same for each one as well. It's only the X position that these change. So again, making one, getting the values correct, then copying and pasting it and dragging it across and changing the Y values, sorry, the X values, is all that was required. And it made those a lot faster to make. The bottom here was exactly the same. I did the first one here. Boom. There we go. So background image, XY width and height. The text banner, XY width and height. Copied, pasted, dragged it across, changed the X position. Copied, pasted, dragged it across, changed the X position. Okay. And you can see that in all of these, the information is identical. It's only the X position that has changed in them. And that helps you to build it a lot faster. Okay, this is a very boring thing to do. I appreciate that, but this is the easiest and quickest way to do it. And like I say, for absolute positioning, this is an absolute must, no pun intended, and it's very easy to do. And see, once we've done this, it now frees us up to go and actually start the coding, which is really, in my opinion, the more enjoyable stuff. Okay, I'm not very artistic, as you can see from the stuff I've made, but I like being able to take that data and build that page. And that's what we're going to start seeing in the next few videos in the coding side, where we build these web pages. So that's the end of this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. This is Zen, signing out.